Hey everyone, I'm Steph,
And I'm Megan.
and welcome to another episode of Late Night Reads.
This week we are diving into the magical world of romantasy and covering Queen by K.A. Riley. Hey girl, hey.
Hey. If you can't tell, we love this series. So
Love
let's
it so
start with
much.
love it. Why we selected Queen. Hello, cliffhanger at the end of book two, broken. We could not stop reading. What
No.
do you mean? Shar is in a ball gown in a tunnel and has to walk to find Thorn. Yes, please.
Right? Yeah, it's like Thorn's missing. What the heck happened with Talon? Like, w- I have so many questions that I need answered right now. And
Immediately.
so, like, yes.
So, as you can tell, we were invested in the characters and had to keep reading. It's also, this book is the best in the series that we've read so far. It's full of
Honestly,
jaw
yes.
drop, right? Like just
Hmm.
mind blowing, jaw
Yeah.
dropping twists and turns that you don't see coming. And then we might have a problem. We've acknowledged this before, but we do love a book that emotionally destroys us. Like, for instance, it made me want to stop reading the book for 20 minutes because I was so angry at one
Oh,
point.
oh my God. I
And
literally, yeah. I texted you, Steph, and I was like, I want to throw this book across the room just because I was upset emotionally. But then I picked it back up and then I was like, okay, I'm gonna get through it.
same. And so while that sounds crazy, we actually enjoy that.
Yeah,
We
we
like
really
being
like it.
emotionally destroyed, and then we like being picked
Hmm.
back up and having our soul soothed at the end. So thank you for that, K.A. Riley. We were both just sucked in so much to this book.
It was an emotional journey and it's still going, but it's an
Yes,
emotional journey for sure. But here's a couple of other things you should know about our new favorite author, K.A. Riley. She is Canadian and we love to support our friends across the border. What's up, Canada? And she's super active on social media. She does not shy away from sharing her beliefs. So we love an outspoken woman. We are all the way like on the same team. We're all good. She has written more than 40 books within the fantasy genre, and all of them being part of different various series. As a reminder, she writes both adult and young adult books, so keep that in mind when you are picking out your next series. But the Thrall series is definitely adult only, which we love.
we do. But before we jump into discussing the book, a couple key reminders. This episode will contain spoilers. We assume if you're listening, you've read the book, you've been warned. The book also does contain topics that may be sensitive for some readers: blood, death, maybe a bit of depression, murder, and violence.
Now let's talk tropes. Talk tropes to me, baby. So, first one we have here is the chosen one. Clearly, Shara is chosen by some major prophecies in this series, even if she doesn't realize it for a majority of the book. We get lots of hints of that throughout the way. Like, you'll see, like, everything is part of the plan, and you just know, like, there's more mysteries to be uncovered, and, like, you are in the dark as much as Shara is, and you're just like, why do you want me to do all these things, you guys? And just, oh, you're along for the ride, and it's great. And then we have Touch Her and Die. So Thorn is still willing to kill anyone who hurts Shara. And this new guy, Kith, he also seems to take on a similar role in the book of being very protective over Shara and like wanting to just like be next to her at all times. And it's kind of a fun little like not love triangle, but like kind of like there's like a tension between the three of them just because of what Kith gets up to later in the book. And then we, of course, have fated mates, or I'm going to call them tethered mates. And we know right now that Shara and Thorn are mates, and there is a special thing that happens between the tethered where they can kind of like find each other in like the nether, the nether, I don't know how to pronounce it, but like the zone, like it's more than just like the channels of like your brain, like what you would see with like Violet and Zayden. It's more like you can have like kind of a physical intimacy in there, which was a fun thing to explore for
That was
sure.
very fun.
Like literally out of body experience, but like not fully satisfied. But that's fun. That's a cool new factor. And then you also have a marriage of convenience. So Kith needs a queen to become the king, and Shara needs to marry him so that she can save the kingdom. Super fun to get into here. She has to kind of pretend that she's into it, even though she's like not 100%. And then we have Second Chance. This is where I wanted to throw the book. Thorn we are led to believe that Thorn dies.
Like
Spoiler.
dies.
Like die. Spoiler, but you should have already read the book by now. And you would have also agreed with us you wanted to cry. Or you did cry. So Thorn almost dies and then comes back to life, proving he and Shara get another chance at happiness. So they get a second chance in life. But oh, I have so many things to say about this whole thing. We will get into that later.
There's so much to talk about in this book. Although this book was like a little bit, it was like what, 100 pages longer than I think book two. There's so much in here. So let's talk about
That's
every
good.
magical twist and everything that happened because it's crazy. So in the prologue, um, Kay Riley, when you read it, she kind of tells you someone's going to die without using those words. But damn it, I was in denial because I still did not see Thorne's death coming. I I thought maybe it was about her father.
Yeah.
Literally like anything besides what would happen, but I'm literally in the prologue like when I went back into the reread, I was like she kind of was like, "Hi, bad things are going to happen." And once again, she starts the book really quickly after Broken, which I do like. There's not this huge gap, right? But Char spent the past 23 hours walking in these tunnels, which when I read that, all I thought was you have to have a combination of like power that you have, right? And you're a healer, adrenaline from what's just happened. You've almost died. Thorn might be dying. He's being held captive. I would have passed out way before
Right?
23 hours.
Oh, yeah.
Unless I was at Disney. Because when you're at Disney and you walk for 20 hours or whatever crazy amount of time it is and the number of miles, it for some reason doesn't count and your feet don't
Right, yeah.
hurt until you go home. Like until you get
Mhm.
home, like or at the hotel later that night, and then you sit down or lay down, and then you're like, oh wow. So maybe
Yeah.
she thought she was going to Disney. I don't know because that's the only way I could have done it.
Right. Although I can say there are some tunnels in Disneyland, I've been in them, and they probably smell just as bad as the tunnels that she's like crawling in. I gotta say,
Oh
the Disneyland tunnels, they smell bad because they're used for janitorial services.
yeah.
So
So it's
like
not
I've been down there, I worked there for 5 years. They do not smell good. Um, so I imagine like if she was at Disney, she does not want to be smelling that kind of Disney. She wants to be
probably
smelling
not
like the
the
vanilla, like
churros
the churros, yeah. But you know
corn.
what? Maybe Thorn is her Disney, you know?
Oh, that's a good point.
So when you are in love and have and want to find your love, you just want to get there,
You do.
you know?
But
Yeah.
one of the things that's interesting at this point too is, like Char is alone. She has Maud and obviously Mercutio because we have to take him everywhere with us. He continues
Of
to play a
course.
vital role in all of the books.
Hmm.
Um, but she insinuates that Char's fate in the capital is something far greater. So it's almost as if Maud knows of some sort of prophecy, which is not a word used in the book. We're just kind of using it, but that's the
Yeah.
thought that it made me feel, and that Maud somehow knows more than she lets on too. So at this point, I'm like, everyone seems to know more than Char, which is the theme of this book.
Yes. And everyone knows more than us in the book
Yes,
because we're just along for the ride. We are along for the Disney ride, man. Um, so then afterwards, after Shara finally gets some rest for like a few hours, she's awakened by a mechanical beast, Berenjar, or Berengar, which is kind of like a half dog, half robot thing. Again, dystopian society, but that's kind of cool. So what's interesting here is we get to meet this new character, Ravenna. And Ravenna is really interesting because you cannot see her eyes. They're completely black. And she says she does that to make people fear her. So they can't tell if she's a tethered or a normal or potential. And basically, she's a badass from the second anyone meets her. And that's terrifying, but also really awesome. And I love actually in the acknowledgments, K.A. Riley says that this is for her friend Mandy, who named Ravenna one of the most badass fictional ladies I've ever met. 100%. Ravenna is badass. I want to be besties with her. So
I do
we
not
meet
want to piss her
Ravenna.
off.
No, you don't. You don't want
I
to be on her
don't.
bad side. Yeah, because she is magical. Like she is a reaper. She will steal your life, steal your soul. So stay on her good side. Um, so yeah, don't want to get her bad side. And then Ravenna tells Shara that she's going to take her to go see the Magister, the man who lays down the law in the capital, and he happens to be a normal. She assures her that he will not hurt her because she escaped from the Isles, and he also happens to work with the Shadow, who we know is Shara's father. So we're kind of like, okay, all these people are like looking for her and like know who she is, kind of. Um, but like you'll be safe since your dad is the Shadow. So Shara's ability to keep her mouth shut also gets her in a little bit of trouble here because she alludes to the possibility that King Thomas might be dead, which causes Ravenna to start asking lots of questions. She is very able to like dance her way around it, saying, "Oh no, I just escaped the palace and there was a fight between the king and the prince, and I don't really know what happened," which is true. She cannot confirm, but nor deny what happened. But Ravenna can tell that this is not the full truth, lets it go, and she's going to bring it up later. We get a line here from Ravenna, which is very foreboding to what's going to happen in the rest of the book between her and Thorn, when she tells Shara, lies by omission are still lies. And you're like, that's true.
That's
But
touche.
yeah, Ravenna knows a lot. She's
She
a smart lady.
does. She also reiterates how Shara can't trust anyone in the capital and how that place has torn apart more than one set of tethered mates, which then caused me to start questioning literally everything.
Everything.
Everything. So I'm like, what do you mean? What do you mean? I thought you can't be torn apart unless you die.
Right?
Well, what do you mean the capital can do it? So then I started wondering, is something going to happen between Shara and Thorn? Is their bond going to be broken somehow? And as it got further in the book, I had even more interesting thoughts, which we'll obviously talk about. But it seemed to be like the first kind of breadcrumb that was
Mm.
pretty obvious that Kay Riley dropped that something tumultuous was going to happen between Shara and Thorn.
Yeah, something is going to happen with the bond.
Yes. So then they come across a scraper in the tunnels, which is, I just pictured this guy as pure scum. And he
Yeah.
happens to be searching for Shara. And he's wearing this like dark gray mask that Shara saw in the vision of the men surrounding Thorn, right? So it looks like one of the men who captured him, at least from Shara's perspective. And then he slashes Ravenna's throat. But he's a poisoner because, it can't be easy for Shara and
No,
anyone that she's
of course
around,
not. Ever.
right?
Ever.
So while the slash was not that bad, that he's a poisoner, so there's now toxins in the wound and it's getting really gross. But then
Mm-hmm.
Shara, because she, I guess, is, playing chess and thinking really smart very quickly, she like momentarily borrows the power from him to then cause him to poison himself.
Yeah.
Because, right? It's kind of like this weird, like she takes his power and then uses it to kill him. And then she uses her healer power to save Ravenna's life. And then this is where we start to learn about the Starless and the Lady. And
Dun
it's
dun. Who's the
right.
lady?
It's who's the lady? And I love how like a majority of the book until you meet her, she's just referred to as the lady. Like
Yeah.
she doesn't have a last name. She doesn't have like any other connotation. We don't even call her like the Starless Lady. It's just the lady, which is kind of like, I kind
Yeah.
of like it.
I like
Um,
it.
but then Ravenna, she talks about like how the Starless are rebels who don't like the Magister, and she describes them as like shit stirrers who want to keep the capital screwed up and like want to spread rumors. And I'm like, that sounds like what the king said about the Shadow and the capital. Like, who exactly is the bad guy? And I think that's
Who's
also
telling
like
the
a
truth?
theme. Exactly. Like, there's so much propaganda, which is true in this book, but also true with what's going on in politics today and the
Yeah.
world. Like, what is the truth?
You got to get down to business and find out. You got to literally go down into the trenches and find out the truth. But what I think is really cool here also is we see Shara having just like a morale moment of like, should I kill this guy or not kill him? Because she doesn't want to kill anyone. Like she's a healer, that her innate nature is to be, harmless. And so it's like, well, you know what? I can see that he's not a good guy and he likes to kill people and he would never like stop to pause and like wonder about killing me. So she doesn't feel as guilty about killing him. But it's nice that she obviously saves Ravenna, which Ravenna's like, I owe you a life debt, pretty much. It's cool. So here also we have Ravenna presses Shara to tell her what's really going on because the lady wouldn't just send someone out unless she was desperate. And like, how do people know about you and what are they trying to get to you? And that's when Shara tells Ravenna that the shadow is her father. And Ravenna drops a bomb about how she already knew that the shadow had a daughter, Shara's sister, but that she was actually killed years ago by a bomb. And that's like heartbreaking. Because supposedly, she was like 5 years old when she died. And so, Shara's like distraught thinking about like, I just found out I had a sister and now I don't have a sister. But this is also, we find out why her father went from being called the hunter to being called the shadow because he became a shadow of his former self when his daughter died. And it's just like, you feel for her because she's trying to figure out, how do I feel about knowing I had a sister and now don't have a sister? Do I mourn her? Do I move on? Like, and also like I feel sad for my father that he had experiences, but hey, I'm still alive, like we'll see how that goes for her.
Well, the other
And
thing that was weird about it is like it when I was first reading it, I was like, "Oh man, like that's so hard." And then I was like, "Wait a second, she just found out like a week ago that she had a sister." Because the time has moved so quickly in these books. I think that's easy to forget because there are like three, we're in book three now, but it's only been a few weeks of time that all this has happened.
yeah, it's like she got her power, or no, she got put, or what's it called? Placement. She got her
Placed.
placement, goes to the house, becomes a fake fiance to the prince, has this whole thing happening, and now she's like tethered to a guy, and she finds out she has a sister, and she meets her mother and finds out who her father is, and just like oh whole craziness. And then yeah, it's like someone's dead. No, they're not dead. Yes, they are. No, they aren't. It's crazy. And we should know this by now that K.A. Riley is always going to throw us in a loop, and I love it.
We're here
I
for it.
hate it. I hate it. I hate it, but I love it. uh, so, as if that's not bad news enough for Shara about her father and, well, her sister being dead, supposedly, Ravenna also tells her that no royal guard has ever been let out of the Magister's prison alive. That doesn't sound good for Thorn, because we know he's most likely, or he is locked up there. Um, but we still have hope because we're like, no, he has to survive because he's Thorn. Like, he'll be the one to defy the odds. He's going to be the outlier. But we
And she
also
wouldn't
learn,
kill him, right?
no,
No, you don't
K.A.
kill him.
Riley, you would not do that. Happy people just don't kill their tethers.
Well, they
No,
do.
it's funny. Until they do. But do they? So we learn here also that the Magister brands everybody who pledges their loyalty to him by leaving a mark on their skin, which reminded me a lot of just how all the tethered have that implant. So it's like people just can't catch a break here. You're always going to get something injected or tattooed on you. And Ravenna tells Shara to look for Thorn in the Nether. What did you think it was called?
It was Nether, but I
I thought
think
it
it
was
could be
Nether.
neither. Yeah, we're going to call it
Neither.
Nether.
Nether. Like Neverland, but Netherland. But
Yes.
that's a place where the souls can meet the two tethered souls. So like you're tethered and you're like, let's meet up in the Netherland. Woohoo. And so she tells Shara you should try and meet with him there when you're alone, just meditating and resting and see if you can talk to him. Maybe you can find out where he is. Shara does tell Ravenna then about her vision of Thorn, which tells Ravenna that he's probably being held by the lady, given that there are dark gray masks and everything. So we'll do our best to try and find him. Like, I don't know where he is.
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting because like when she first had that vision, this was kind of like a clue that I don't know if a lot of people caught on to, but at the end of book two, and she has the vision, she says they're in the Citadel, right? Which would be like where the Magister and the Shadow are. But then, so that's what we think this entire time. And then Ravenna is the one that goes, no, if it's dark gray mass, it's with the lady. So I'm like, Kate Riley told us the truth, like kind of like told us the truth, and then we like it's just been really interesting, like how we ping pong back and forth and like where is he, who has he, who's bad, who's not. Um, but then we go to the Underbelly Tavern, which I'm not sure how other people envisioned this, but I envisioned it like um in Harry Potter. I don't know why this is my reference, people. but
You
the
love Harry
tavern, like
Potter reference.
I really don't. I mention it a lot, but I think it's because I've seen the movies, so I think it's like very visual. But that's what I think of is like the like like the tavern that they go into, or like the little bar thing that Harry Potter goes into. Regardless, but things get like really interesting here because Shara tries to convince Ravenna to take her to the lady, and she's basically like, "You crazy? We're not doing that." And
You cray
right,
cray, not
you
going.
cray cray. No, like, do you want to die? And that is a theme for Shara. She does like to do things that may end up in getting her killed. But Shara's like, I have no money, but I can pay you with information about Cravan's history, which somehow like what we think no one knows about the story and Ravana's like, no, I kind of know what you're talking about, but I don't think it's true, anything that like you were told, because the lady believes it and the lady's full of shit.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. Like the Storian is just
like a myth.
make believe. Yeah, yeah,
Yes,
it's not real. Which is funny because Shara also believes that the story of like a Reaper is a myth. But it's like, how about that? Like Ravenna, you're a myth in other people's world. So who's to say that the Storian's not real?
exactly.
But also, who would have
So
thought that there'd be an old lady living in a box?
that's a real crazy story, right?
That's crazy.
That's a crazy story.
Good
So
imagination, though.
I know. I love that. So then she takes out her contacts, which allows Shar to see her eyes for the first time. And this is where like Shar realizes that she's the Reaper, which means she can steal people's lives and time from her victims, and everyone can see what she is. So if she doesn't have her contacts in, not just hunters like Shara, but literally normals, other tethereds, potentials, they all can see kind of who she is and what she can do, which is why people fear her, rightfully so. Also her badass
Yeah.
attitude.
Yeah. Which is funny because you hear Reaper and you think like the Grim Reaper, like she's like
Yes.
scary, but she's like beautiful.
It's a
Beautiful
very interesting
scary.
like dichotomy. I can kill you, but I'm also really, really hot.
Yes. I'm
Which
seductive to your death.
yes. Um, so the Magistrar's name happens to be Brant, which we know was the previous president's name before Quentin led a rebellion and killed everyone.
Yeah. Bad
Which
Quentin.
bad Quentin. Um, so then we get to meet. We're calling him
I thought it
Kilth.
was Kith.
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 We're gonna call him Kith. Kith. I read it as Keith in my mind, but we're gonna call him Kith. Um, who is clearly attractive and has like when Shara meets him, I think at first she kind of thinks he might be Thorn because he has like a similar hair color and stuff, and then when he gets closer, she realizes it's not. But she comments on his bedroom eyes, which
Oh
is
yeah.
this is the first time we've seen her like have any sort of like attraction to anyone else.
Mm-hmm.
But he's there to make sure both of them get to the capital safely. And he can read people and see their powers. Even though he's not a hunter, he's a blade, which allows him to reach into someone and pull their power from them permanently and also give it to other people. So
So crazy.
that's crazy. Like, how did she think this up?
Yeah, he can transfer power to people, and you're like, what?
That makes him so powerful and scary,
Yes. Also,
but
kind of hot.
also kind of hot. I
Like,
think that's an important point at this moment because right now when we meet him, I think he's kind of hot.
I'm kind of into Kith at this moment. I'm like, oh, because
For
for me earlier when they dropped the breadcrumb of like, tethers, are like it's temperamental. It may not actually be who you think, or like it may not be as strong as you think. I'm like, oh shit, is this gonna be like a Tamlin Ricin moment where like we thought
that's what I
Thorn?
thought.
Yeah, I'm like, where we
I know.
thought Thorn was like the one and like the mate, and it turns out that like he wasn't, and that Kith is actually the one. Like, So I got skeptical here. I was like, I'm on to you, K.A. Riley. I'm on to you. I know what you're doing. I
And I
was
was
wrong.
like, I'm kind of might be here for it too, because for
I mean,
a
yeah.
larger portion of the book than I probably would like to admit, I was a fan of his.
Mm-hmm. I liked him up until the end, and you're like, oh no,
Um,
that's a
you
bummer.
have an yeah, you have an evil soul.
Yeah, but you're still pretty to look at. So Kith shares with everybody that there is a royal guard that was found in the capital 2 days ago, and the Starless got to him first. And we, found out from Ravenna that the Starless wore the gray masks, and that's what Shara saw in her vision. So we know the Starless got to him first, but he's now being detained at the Citadel, and he knows that Shara is the Shadow's daughter. And we're like, how do you know this stuff? He's just a smart dude, sort of. And we know that he knows that Thorn is her mate. And when he touches her, so Kith touches Shara, she instantly feels at peace. Like he's able to just kind of like calm her soul and her body. And again, we're like, okay, maybe he's good for her. Like maybe this is a good guy.
Maybe this is her guy. Like that's right. Like that's what I started to wonder. I was like, "Oh, he makes you feel nice when he touches you."
Oh, touches you where? Oh, my head's in the spice always. Then they plan to head to the capital together after Shara and Ravenna get a little bit of rest. But before she can rest, Shara runs into a Starless who comes up to her and tells her the rebellion is a lie, which is the first time we hear this type of language in the book. And Kith and Ravenna disregard it and they say it's just propaganda from the lady. It's not true. Don't listen to her. And we're also kind of like, well, is it? Because now I just don't believe anything. Like once I have one theory in my head, I'm stuck.
Well,
So they get some
and
rest. Oh yeah,
I would say the thing about the rebellion too is I thought when I first read it that they were talking about the rebellion that happened a long time ago. Not
oh
right, like the history that the historian told her when
yeah,
that
between
rebellion
Brant
happened.
and Quentin. But it's like
Yes,
that's so
not
long ago.
I know, but that was like the nomenclature that was used. I didn't think about what was happening today as being a rebellion or anything. You know what I mean? Like yes, there's rebels and the Starless are rebels, but like it was just it was misleading.
Yes, yes, that's what she loves to do to us.
Yes.
Um, so yeah, it's propaganda, perhaps. So they get some rest, and in her resting time, Shara takes advantage of it to go into the Nether and to try and find Thorn. And she's able to talk to him and feel him. And we kind of get a little hot and steamy here. And he tells her that he's okay. And then one thing leads to another. Dream sex, almost. I'm like, come on, let's just
It
we're
was like a
so
tease.
close. It was such a tease for everyone involved, for Thorn and Shara
Yes.
and us. We're just like, God damn it. But we know she's not going to do us dirty like that. She
She
promises.
brings it.
She brings it later. So during their time in the Nether, Thorn makes a comment here about as long as my heart beats, I'm yours. Remember that whatever may come, you and I will be together as long as we both live. I swear it. Another breadcrumb for like what's going to happen to later in the book. And once again, it shows that Thorn knows more about their future than he's letting on. And it's like, what do you mean as long as your heart is beating? Are you going to not be beating? Like, it's very interesting that he keeps repeating this phrase, like to
Yes.
reassure her, like I'm yours, we're together as long as I'm alive. And you're like, why do you have to say that last part? I don't want you to not be alive. Don't be unalive. But unfortunately, the dream sex is interrupted when Kith wakes up Shara, which again is kind of like a little foreshadowing, like, Kith, you're getting in the way. Come on, buddy.
Yes. Oh, good point. Good point.
Right?
Well, he is clearly attracted to Shara based on his early interactions with her and the comments he makes about it, which makes her feel uncomfortable for two reasons, I assume. One, because of
Yeah.
Thorn, but
Yeah.
then also because like she didn't get compliments for the first 19 years of her life, or really like up until her relationship with Thorn. And we all
Mm-hmm.
remember how the mind fucking that happened in book one.
Oh, yeah.
So it probably made her feel awkward. I also think just in general, when you're raised to be um very like do what you're told and complacent, compliments make you feel very awkward. So just like as a person in general. So then I was struck by like these initial interactions they have at the tavern because when she touches him at one point, she says it feels like a spark of electricity coursing through my veins, working its way deep into my bloodstream. No one but Thorn should make me feel this way. And I was like, damn. Right?
Damn.
Damn. Like I'm like
Can you have
if
two
you're
tethers?
can you have two tethers? Or is Thorn the bad guy? This is where I started to go down like a rabbit hole of like deep thought, you guys. I'm like, did he fake the tether at some point?
Is that
Right?
possible?
Is that possible? I don't know. But I also didn't think that Kith would come in and make Shara feel things.
Right?
So,
And then, but we also do know that like Kith can, absorb other people's power. So is that him using his power on her? Like,
well,
I'm gonna
yes,
make you love me.
well, it's true, maybe. I guess when they said he could absorb powers and stuff, I never thought of him like Valera until later
Mhm.
in the book.
But no,
And
yeah,
then
I
I thought
immediately
about
thought of
that,
him as
right?
Valera. Yeah. I know, I
I
immediately
didn't.
though thought of that.
Okay, I
Oh,
thought of like, oh shit, like what if Kit's her mate? What if
yeah.
he's the one that's going to come between the two of them?
Hmm.
So then they get all the three of them and the dog, um, and of course Mercutio. Don't forget him. Go, start heading towards the capital. And this is when Chara learns like the Magister is technically the top dog, but it sounds like for the most part he's like a figurehead, and the Shadow really kind of runs things, and Kith is kind of like his right hand man. Um, and he says like, but because the Shadow isn't one to enjoy the limelight, there's a reason for his title. His daughter, on the other hand, should absolutely be center stage at all times, which is another like breadcrumb of this like prophecy for Shara that she does not pick up on, and clearly what Kith has planned for her.
Yeah.
So, also really interesting.
That's so much attention on Shara, and she's just come out of the tower fresh like 2 weeks ago, and all of a sudden, like everybody is all about her. She's center stage, and she's just like, what? Huh? So,
Like a few
deer in
weeks
the
ago,
headlights.
she hadn't even seen herself in a mirror.
Yeah. I'm like, oh girl, you got a lot going on here. Everybody wants you. Everybody wants to be you, and you're just trying to live your life and find your tethered, whoever they may be. But we also learned that no one in the capital refers to non-tethered people as normals, and instead they call them potentials, which I actually really like because everybody has
I
the
like better.
potential to, rise up. So that's good. And we're like, okay, I see it. Um, but of course, Kith can turn people into tethers, and so he, borrows power from a seer at some point and sees into the future that involves a future leader not being a member of the king's family. And that's when he uses Shara's ability to absorb power to show her a vision of the future that is Shara's pairing ceremony. It's like a wedding where she sees her father, and she sees Kith, and like she sees she's all happy, but doesn't see Thorn anywhere. And again, we were like, oh crap, like is Thorn not her mate anymore? Or does he die? I don't know. And we learn again, like the pairing ceremony allows tethers to marry and share assets and more. So you're like, breadcrumbs here. What's going to
Yes.
happen? Why is this so important that there is a ceremony in regards to the tethers, or just in general? But again, like, are Thorn and Shara meant to be at this point? I don't know. I want them to be. And we get also to see later Ravenna's power is unleashed when she and Shara get to the entrance to the Citadel, and there's two men guarding it, and they refuse to let them through. So Ravenna literally takes a month off of their lives, being like, "Don't fuck with me. I will make you wish you were never born." Um, so you do not want to go on her bad side. And she tells us there that something will definitely matter later in the book, which is that she can bring somebody back to life. Like if they're on the brink of death, she can bring them back without actually taking any time from them. So like the Reaper can give and take. Breadcrumb.
Yeah. Breadcrumb. Didn't think anything of it when I read it. And then later I was like, oh, damn it. Um, but once inside, Shara's identity as the Shadow's daughter is verified, but before Ravana
Yeah,
like leaves
via
her,
like a blood test.
but like a little prick, like, yes, you are
Yeah.
who you say you are.
Yeah.
No, I came here and walked for days and wore this dress, and I'm in pain and I feel miserable for shits and giggles.
Yeah. Shits and giggles. We're at Disneyland.
Shits and
Shits and
giggles.
giggles.
Yes. So, but then we get another breadcrumb, which she tells her if Shara helps free the Tethereds, then she'll be her servant for life. And she refers to Shara as a queen, which is the first queen reference we get in this book. We've gotten it
Queen. We
before.
know it's about
Queen.
Queen.
We do. Um, we got it in book 2, right? Around like how she could be queen for Talon or his brother, whichever one she chose.
It
But
was her
anyways, but
destiny
it's her
to be
destiny to
queen.
be queen. But then Ravana's contact Joy will be on the lookout for her and can help her. And then she also says again, not all tethered mates are locked in as they seem, which once again makes me go, are Thorn and Shara actually mates?
Yeah,
Who
are
is,
they?
can you fake a mate bond? Can you have more than one mate? What is going on? Why were we got rules of the kingdom on page
Hmm.
1 of book 1? Why are there not rules of the tethereds? Like of the mates? I need mate rules. Because
I need a pairing ceremony / mate rule ceremony. I need to know
yes,
these things.
I need a book
But
on
because we
this.
don't have that, we are stuck in our own nether of figuring things out, basically.
Correct. Which is assuming I can trust no one and they're all out to get Shara.
Yes.
So
Which Ravenna
Shara gets
tells
to
us, trust no one.
trust no one.
Don't even
Including,
trust
like,
yourself.
she's like, and she almost made it sound like, including don't trust your tethered mate too. Like, that's how I took it when she said
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
So Shara gets to see Thorn, which happened faster than I thought. I thought that would be more drawn out.
Yeah.
Because Joy takes him down there, and Joy happens to be a shapeshifter, which will become important later, which is really cool. But Thorn has this thing around his leg, and it basically is poisoning him slowly. Not enough to kill him, but enough to cut off like his power, which makes sense. Like if a, I don't know how you would keep a tether, especially one as powerful as Thorn, in a cell if they had access to their powers. But then dear old dad, the shadow, shows up outside Thorn's cell. So Shara hasn't been like able to go in yet. And he's made a deal with the Magister to allow Thorn to leave his cell and mentions that Thorn has a gift they're hopeful he will share with them. And so I've been like, up until this point, I've always thought like the dad might be bad news. And like
Yeah.
in this interaction, I'm like, oh, I don't like, he seems like power hungry. Maybe he
He's a
is all the
shadow daddy in a
things.
bad way.
Yes.
Where you're like, oh,
Yes. A bad shadow
shadows. You've got
daddy.
secrets. You've got bad secrets. Like you,
Yes.
I don't trust him at this point either.
I don't either. So,
I think he's out for himself. So once we're in the council chambers with her father and Thorn, we get a sense that her dad is trying to figure out what happened and if he can trust them, which again, we're like, I don't know if I trust you, but now you don't know if you can trust us. Shara shares the truth about how she wasn't really engaged to the prince and that it was all a ruse. And her dad responds by saying he's heard that she left the palace in shambles. And during this conversation, her father asks Thorn to help craft a electronic bracers, like what Thorn used to do, like before, to like, enhance your power. So he's kind of like, I want to get something out of this. I know you can do it. You're going to do this for me. And they're not really in a position to say no. So Thorn agrees to do it. And then Kith comes into the council chamber and apparently he knows Thorn. You know, he's like, hey, what's up, buddy? And you're just like, how do you two know each other? When did this happen? Turns out he helped to rescue Thorn from the so-called Starless Men who captured him. So when Thorn got captured, Kith is there to kind of like help fight off these bad guys. Very convenient timing. Shara at this point feels like super overwhelmed with emotion for Kith, which makes Thorn get a little possessive and jealous, which I kind of love because I'm like, oh
yes.
yes, we love a little jealousy, a little like she's mine, dude, like hands off. But Kith is still into it. He's still like, we'll see. And you're like, oh my God, what does this mean?
Right?
Yeah. And then Shara is alone with her family, her, dad. And he tells her a ton of information, including that Thorn has the power to control minds. And we're like, how do you know this? And that Lady Greystone is responsible for the strike that supposedly killed her sister. And bum, 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 her sister is actually alive. You're like, wait, what? So
Yeah, right.
you're like, you have a sister. Then your sister dies, but she's not really dead. She's alive. And it was just a story to get like everybody off his back. Like he sent her away on a ship to save her because he realized everybody was going to pretty much use her as a tool to get to him. But he hasn't heard from her since. So she's like a 5-year-old. He sends off on a ship. I don't know where she is. Maybe you can find her one day. Breadcrumb. And then Shara then tells him what she learned from the Storian. And I'm just kind of like, why are you sharing this with this guy you hardly know? Like at this point, he's very like, do we
Kind of
trust him?
sketch.
He's a sketchy dude. He's called the Shadow. Like he's a sketchy man. Like she's very trusting in this whole thing. Shara is very trusting with people, which normally her mod would like be alerting her like like don't do that. But Maud's been very quiet. Maud has not
Yes.
been communicating a lot. Like something's going on with her. Maybe they're in like a barrier zone. She gets no service, you know?
Well, and she
That's what
doesn't
I
even
kind of
notice
thought.
it. Like at this point, she's not even noticing that
Yeah.
Maud is kind of like
Yeah.
incommunicado.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, it's like there's so much going on here with Shara and her dad and the trust. She's got daddy issues, clearly,
Yes.
but she's trying to get on his good side. I don't know,
I don't
but
know.
I'm still my mind is blown that sister is not actually dead. Again, you can't trust this is your first foreshadowing that you can't trust that someone's actually dead.
Right. Also, it's interesting that Lady Greystone is the one that's responsible for the strike, which we'll talk more about later, and how I wonder what the hell's really going on with her.
Yeah.
Um,
Is she the
but
lady?
is
At this
she?
point, I thought that Lady Gravestone was
Oh,
the
the
lady.
lady. Oh, I did not think that, but I like that.
Because,
That would
like,
have been a really big shock.
yeah, because, you know, like they're fighting against each other. And so you already know that Lady Gravestone and the Shadow are enemies. So why wouldn't the lady have her fingers and everything else? I don't know. That's what I kind of
Mm.
thought.
That would have been a
Interesting.
really interesting twist.
Yeah.
Um, okay, so then Joy takes Shara to her suite. So once again, like loving that we went from living in the tower, having nothing, to living in the Redan household, then the royal palace, and now we're back in kind of like a princess suite again. Um, but Joy, we learn, has seen visions because her mother is a seer, which I thought nothing of at the time. Super dumb of me. And then she makes comments about Shara's fate and how she has never hoped until she saw Shara. Specifically, I'm telling you that your fate is very much tied to all of our futures. It was fate that brought you to the capital. And I'm like, no, it wasn't. It was Thorn.
Yeah.
Thorn
No,
brought her to the
Thorn.
capital. Thorn.
Hmm.
And the fact that the royal family is legitimately evil and crazy and was going to try and kill everyone.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Joy also tells her that she can't really say more because you can't share what a seer has told you because it could alter choices that someone makes going forward. Which then was like I think an important clue of why there's so much that people can't tell her, including Thorn, like anyone that's had a vision of what they had to hide from her.
Yeah. They have to
Um,
omit.
Things, right?
Yeah.
Which even Kith did, right? Like he showed her a vision, but he didn't show her all of it.
Yeah.
So while she's in the Citadel, Shara's mod is like just not working, like we've mentioned. And she keeps being told it needs to like recalibrate itself, which I'm like, that sounds really sketchy.
And to me, it sounds like my iPhone. My iPhone needs to recalibrate because it suddenly stopped charging. And I'm like, "Oh, Apple, you're just trying to
No,
get me to buy a new phone."
it just means it's dead usually, right?
Yeah.
But then Joy's like, don't let anyone touch it but Thorn. And I'm like, so something's going on. And there's like clearly Joy at least has a fear that someone could be doing something nefarious with her mod. But then Thorn comes into the suite and spicy time begins because basically the first thing they do when they see each other is get naked. And can you blame them?
Duh.
No,
Yeah.
I
Right?
can't.
It's like, come on. The nether was
Come
nothing.
on. Right?
Come on.
Another was just a tease. More to come
Yeah.
on that later because we have a lot of thoughts on all of the spice in this book, which we very much loved. So
Thank
thank you
you.
for that.
Thank you, K.A. Riley.
But Thorn also cautions Shara about her father. And you have to remember,
Mhm.
he wasn't in the room when she started telling him the story about the Storian. And he's basically saying, you know, your father and the Magistrar are powerful men and they don't gain their strength through kindness and benevolence, which I think is a really interesting thought about her father, but also just about power in general in the world, because that is a very true statement.
Yeah.
But Shara is kind of in La La Land and she's like, my dad would do nothing wrong. And I'm like, you have
You don't know him.
zero reasons to believe that. Everyone has
Yes.
told you the opposite.
Yeah.
And
Everyone says he's not to be trusted. He is a bad guy.
he has
I
done horrible
refuse to believe
things.
it. Yeah.
I think he's wonderful. Like we said, daddy
Yeah.
issues. And Thorn agrees to follow her on this topic, which I'm like, I was a little surprised by that because typically you've seen him in the previous two books like fight her on things. And this thing, he was kind of like, if you want to trust him, we're going to trust him. So,
Yeah. And you're like, I think he's just so concerned about getting his own trust with her that he's just like, let me stay on your good side, you know?
yeah.
And in between those good sides, the hot and steamy happens. And there's a lot. And I'm so here for it. Shara and Thorn catch up on everything that they've missed with each other, both physically and emotionally. Basically, what happened while they were apart. And, catch up time, but sex time, and catch up time and sex time. Lots of it. Love it. Here for it. We'll go into detail later. Char's mod does finally now come back online, but she's acting completely different. Like she's rebooted back to like, yes, I will do this for you, and not her
Oh,
usual sassy self.
I love that voice. That's kind of like how I imagined it when she was talking.
Shara, shut up. But instead of being like, you need to keep your mouth shut. Anyway, I love Maud. She's sassy. And Shara's dad assures her that nothing's to be worried about, and they're probably just installing an update for her to have current information on the capital, maps, stuff like that. But again, it's another thing of like maybe you're not to be trusted. Like I don't trust you. And Shara and Thorn, along with her dad, meet with the Magister finally, and they learn that King Thomas is dead, and Lady Verdane is also dead. Which, okay, good. You were bad people. Bye bye.
Hey,
See you later.
don't miss you.
But Prince, don't miss you at all. Like you deserve to die. You're a bad person. Prince Talon is alive though, and so is Elion. He fled. Supposedly a third person dies. We're assuming is it Lady Greystone? We don't know. Doesn't really say. The book doesn't tell you, which again makes you suspicious that if you don't see a dead body or hear about a dead body, don't assume anything. But later Shara says that she is dead. Who knows?
But Char like
I don't.
says that, but she says it like she just assumes.
Yeah.
I,
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like we learned that Lady Greystone is the one that killed or tried to kill Shara's sister. The book is very intentional about not including her as one of the dead in this list when the
Yeah.
Magister and the Shadow are talking about it. So I'm just like, I feel like there's something brewing. And you know what? It could be like one of those things that I obsess over and literally is a horrible theory and nothing comes to it. And Kay Riley's like, no, like she was dead. I said it was
Yes.
three people. I told you two of them. I thought you could deduce that the other person
I
was
know.
Lady Greystone.
I
And
know.
I'm
In
like,
my head, I was like, okay, we got Valera is dead. Her body was there.
oh, that's true though. Could count too.
Yeah.
Archer.
Well, but they said five though. We have Valera,
Okay.
we have Archer, you have the King, and you have Lady Verdane. Like that's four. Like they said five people, right?
Yeah.
Pretty sure.
I
Yeah.
don't know, but they weren't specific about who this other third person like was, and
Yeah.
it could have
We
been a
still don't know.
guard. We
Could have
don't
been a
know.
guard. I was hoping it was
I don't know.
Elion, but
I was too, but
yeah. But basically, we don't know. This is a mystery, and so having that little nugget in your head, Shara and Thorn are like, let's go exploring, which is good because they need some alone time and they need to see the outside world. And while they're out there, Maud is acting super strange. And that's when Thorn realizes that her data is being withdrawn and like used and like downloaded somewhere else. And so she like hands her hand over, is like, can you stop it? And of course, Thorn being amazing with technology can. Um, and this actually helps Maud to get her old personality back, but they still don't know who was it that was downloading her data. Like Maud doesn't know either. She just knows it happened. So you're kind of like, okay, is it Lady Greystone? Maybe. Maybe she had
is
access
it the
to it.
shadow? Is it the
Is it the
lady?
shadow?
Is it
Is it the
someone else?
Magister?
And what's interesting is we never learn. In the rest of the book, this never comes up again. And I feel like that's something else that's really important. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
why don't we learn this? Anyways, so we have Shara and Thorn out on an excursion in the capital, and they see all these beautiful homes, which is probably like what Shara initially envisioned the capital to look like. And then
Yes.
like it's like you're walking along and you're like la di da di da, and then it's like destruction now, and which is sad because that's due to like all the king's bombings. And then they also see this message. This is like the second message that we've seen that says the air will bring ruin on us all. So when I read this line, I thought of we in one of the first scenes we have with the Shadow and Shara, he tells her that she's his heir.
Yes.
And so I was like, oh, that's really interesting terminology. So is this about her?
Yes. That's what I
So that's
thought
like
too.
right? That's where my head went. And then I also love that like Thorne and Shara like pretend they like play house and they're like, oh, this
Yeah.
could be our future home. And it's like currently demolished. I'm like, couldn't you have picked one that wasn't like in ruins? But they're like
Yeah.
dreaming about the future, which is like, it just made me feel like that's what young love does, right? You think about like how everything's going to be wonderful, even if it's currently horrible and the world's on fire.
Yeah.
And then because they can't keep their hands on each other, they decide to start to get busy in the like quasi demolished house, which is to each their own.
I mean, when you're in the mood, you're in the mood. But I would still
You're
be like, let me just like wipe this down really quick
right.
before my ass gets like propped up here and like my pants come down, you know? Like, let's just
Exactly.
dust it off.
Well, and in my mind, there's like this thing doesn't have like all the walls, like there's like holes in it, and I'm just like, you
One
can't
bad
lock a
thrust and you're through the
door.
wall.
Yes, exactly. I'm just like, but you know what? They can't control themselves.
I
So
mean,
they, which we'll talk about. So they start to get busy, and then they like all I can imagine is they're like in the midst of like getting hot and steamy, and then they're like, oh, there's like some people outside, and then they're killed by a drone. So needless to say, that like stops the hot and steamy action.
oh
But
yeah,
this is
that's such a buzzkill.
watching people die. Yes,
Yeah, getting all hot and steamy and then being like, oh shit, there's 4 people outside. Oh no, they're gonna see us. Oh my god, they're dead.
but they're dead, right? Like,
I don't really want to get it
yeah,
on after that.
they
No,
they didn't, at least not right away.
not right away.
This was also the moment where you start to see Thorne's attitude change because up until this
Uh-huh.
point, he's been kind of like the same guy that he was, I think, in book 2 to her. But he starts to change and he starts to feel like come across as really cold, or that's how I read him. And especially about like what's to come. He does share they saw a vision of their future, which sounds like when he describes it, almost identical to the vision that Charity saw of her pairing day, except that
Yeah,
Thorne
with Kith,
says
yeah.
that he wasn't there. And it was like he was seeing a future where he didn't belong.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that. So once again, I go, are they not maids? And is Kith her mate?
Yeah.
Like that, like that's where I feel like I'm being led to.
Yes.
So then we get the other like badass story, which is Shara apparently is the regent killer, i.e., the king killer, because people now believe that she killed King Thomas, which she doesn't seem to like want to take on. But I'm like, I would. That man deserved to die. And if that's going to keep people away from me, if you want to think that I am the king killer, yes, I will accept
Bring it
the
on.
title. Bring it
Yes.
on.
Uh-huh.
But then he also continues to insinuate that she's going to take on a certain amount of power one day. And that they're going to have to be more cautious when she leaves the Citadel because people now know that she's there and like who she is. So there's like a couple things there that was interesting. One, that she has to take on a certain amount of power. You start to see that like just referred to numerous times. And she's very clear, like she doesn't want power. She doesn't want to lead people. She doesn't want that responsibility. She's not looking for the limelight. And then when he says that she's going to be careful when she goes out, I know she felt this a little way, but for me, I was like, oh, are they just locking her up in a new tower? It's just a different
Right.
tower. And it's, she went from being locked up in the tower to locked up in the Verdun household, then to the royal palace. And now we're at the capital and the Citadel, and she's locked up again. But
She even has, Kate Riley has it on the front. No one with power is truly free. And that's just true. It's like you're always in some kind of prison.
yes, like a fishbowl.
Mod comes out. Yeah. You're not allowed to say that word.
No, you're not. Not in this book, at least. But then Kith can take her to see the sights while Thorne is training. So it's interesting that like her father definitely, once again, trusts Kith to protect Shara as they can go out and like go sightsee.
Yeah, yeah. But it's sad that like they're being separated. Like they just got put back together and now they're being told that they like can't really be together for hours on end. And it seems intentional here that the father is, or the shadow is like, I want you to be with Kith. I don't want you to be with Thorne. I'm going to try and encourage this relationship to come. Like I'm coming between you and I want Kith to be the one you choose. And you're like, you bad. Like, I don't like you. Like, what are you doing?
Yes.
You're like manipulating this whole situation, which he is. But it's for a greater purpose.
A different reason than we thought at this point.
Yeah. So next, it's time for dinner with the Magister, Shara's father, Thorne, Shara, Kith, and Ravenna. That's got to be a fun dinner table to be at. You're just kind of like, the tension in here is wild.
Yes.
And the reaction that Thorn has when he sees Ravenna, I get angry for Shara. Like he's just
Same.
it seems like he's just like checking her out like, "Oh my god, she's a babe." I get jealous. Shara's jealous clearly, and Maud does not help because Maud is very much like, I think he is looking at her like he wants to have sex with her. Like suggesting, obviously that Thorn's very attracted, and again puts doubt in your mind that like maybe Thorn and Shara aren't tether mates. Um, and then it doesn't help that they find out that Ravenna will also join the training session with Thorn. Because it's like, okay, yeah, let's let them get physically like close to each other and like touching each other and fighting. Of course. Seems great idea.
Nothing will happen then.
Nothing's gonna happen, clearly. So I feel, Shara getting really jealous and pissed off here. And of course, Kith is being Kith and it's probably like, hey, like, I'm looking at you too. But so besides the apparent connection going on between Thorn and Ravenna, we learn that the Magister is holding a public hanging in 3 weeks. Oh, but it's like a show of justice to like, excuse you, puppy. My
He
own
doesn't like those
little.
either.
Yeah, he's just like, no, I don't like that. Um, and so you get like it's a show of strength, and he's trying to show justice that when the upcoming election happens, people are going to like get on board with us. But it also turns out that Shara's dad has told the Magister about what the Storian told Shara. So like everybody knows now, it's not a secret anymore about what's gonna kind of like happen in the history and like what may happen in the future. So Magister now knows that President Brant, same name. And then Shara has a freaky dream that night. Basically, it's like a vision of what happens after Thorn dies and comes back to life, but we just didn't know it. So when we first read it, it seems like Thorn is just professing his love to Ravenna. And we're just kind of like, are you kidding me? Like, you are supposed to be with Shara. You're not supposed to be with Ravenna. That's the jealousy that's happening here. So it's a very interesting dream.
Insert doom spiral for me and my thoughts around their relationship.
Yeah. I
So
was
like
starting to
this
get
is
very angry.
yes. And then you have like Thorn and Ravenna spending this time together, and Kith takes Shara shopping, which has to be like an odd experience given her life. But it's also, I'm just like, she's seeing all these new wonderful things with him and not with Thorn.
That is so true. Yes. All she
Like
saw
of
with
what,
Thorn was destruction.
yes. And now it's like all these, just like there's a funness about shopping, but also if you've never done it. And Kith is just like, it's hard not to start to fall for him on everything he says and does. He really comes across as like genuinely caring about Shara. And he also brings up to her, like, I noticed how Thorn and Ravenna were looking at each other at dinner last night. Like, and I'm
Dude.
just like, oh, so now it's like, Shara, it's not in your head because like you see it. Maud's not being helpful. And also saying yep. And now Kith who's saying like that was kind of interesting. And so then I'm going like, shit, what if Thorn and Ravenna are mates? And what if like they've been mates this entire time and she's the reason like it was interesting that she was found there, just like all this stuff. So I was so confused because then Kith says tethers can have more than one mate. What?
What do you mean?
What do you mean?
Like, are we all tethered to each other in a different way? But no, it's like, are they not tethered? Are they not? And like, I also like feel Kith is a major fuckboy at this point. Like, he's just saying whatever he has to say to get in her pants.
See, I wasn't
Like,
there
Kith,
yet. I was like, I thought he was like the guy friend that you don't know that likes you, that's like secretly pining and is like so wonderful and so nice and like so helpful. Like that's how I saw him. And I was like, oh, it's so
yeah.
like,
I saw him like that for the beginning, but it was at this
okay.
point when he starts bringing up and he's like purposely trying to wedge himself in there. I'm like, you're the guy that all my friends need to swipe away from on Tinder or Hinge. I'm like, no, no, no. You're like posing photos of yourself, like with your muscles and stuff, and trying to be
Mm.
cutesy and trying to be lovey and say, this is exactly what you want, right? Like, I'm the one you want. You want to be with me. But really, I'm just going to fuck you over in the end. like a fuckboy,
Which he does.
which he
Which
does.
he
Again,
does.
Kith is our fuckboy. We should have
Minus the
never doubted
actual
Thorn.
fucking.
I know, but that would have been a good scene.
That would have.
I feel like Kith would be really good in bed. I'm just gonna say.
I also would agree with that based on what I've read in this book.
I think he knows what he's doing.
I think
Anyway,
he does
we
too.
won't think about that
Well,
too much.
moving on. Shara tries on this gold dress, which is from the vision of her pairing day, and
Tries it on with
um
Kith.
with Kith, and he has
Yeah.
to help her like lace her up and like unlace her and that type of stuff, and like touches her back, which
Mm,
clearly, right, it makes
yeah.
her like slightly uncomfortable, but also I think slightly turned on if she's
Yeah.
being really honest. And then
She's
like
getting
when
attention.
she's getting attention and she's not with Thorn at this exact moment, right? And she's worried about what he's doing with Ravenna and how he feels. But then it becomes a little awkward because like the curtains, or at least how I envision it, right? The curtains open a little bit and it's like so he sees her like in a quasi undressed state and she's like, "Oh," and I'm like, "Don't clutch your pearls." Like
Yeah.
he's a man. Like, let's be honest. Like, if you, regardless of who you're attracted to, men or women, like that is like a natural reaction if you're attracted to someone and they
And you happen to
happen to
peek and they
be
see.
peak. Like, I mean, he wasn't being super creepy about it. It's not like he was trying to. It just like it happened and he didn't look away. So,
He
but
knew what he was doing. He liked what he
he
was
knew
seeing. And
he
he wanted
did.
to be known.
He did. Rightfully so. But then we get to Thorn, who knows exactly what he's doing, and probably one of the hottest scenes in the training room, which I cannot wait until Megan talks about that one because I know she's dying to.
I'm so dying. I
But
want it.
the thing that keeps coming across is he's really stressed. He also keeps commenting about how they have to take advantage of this time that they have together. And I think that's also like just more foreshadowing, right? Like that the time is limited. And he's bothered by all this, but he won't tell Shara the whole truth, which we know now is because he can't alter her path and that type of stuff. But he does share finally that Ravenna told him that his bond with Shara will be threatened in the coming days. And I'm like, do you want me to hate Ravenna? Because I really liked her when we first met her and I thought she was a badass. And now I think she's a bitch come to steal Shara's man. And I don't like it.
Yeah, I'm like, are
And I
you being
don't
a
know.
homewrecker now?
Yes, we don't like homewreckers.
And again, you're like, Thorn, are you really into Ravenna? This is your way of like breaking up with me? Like, dude. Honestly, you should just join them and have a throuple and be like, whatever.
That would be a hot throuple.
That'd be a hot throuple. So I'm like, but here we go. Kith and Shara go sightseeing again, because he's really trying to put himself in between everybody. And it's like, wouldn't you think at this point that the Shadow's right-hand man has a little bit more important things to do than like babysit Shara? Like, of course he's important and he, can keep her safe, but like there's other things you gotta do, right? Maybe. But good thing he was there because he ends up killing a Starless who gets really close up to Shara. And again, like the Starless is like, the rebellion is a lie. The queen will save us all, that whole thing. And he gets really close to Shara and, Kith kills the Starless and then picks up the body and takes it down to the catacombs. So here we kind of find out, like, what do they do with all the dead people? Shara also makes Kith take her then to see a Starless prisoner, because she's like, I've only ever seen these people dead. I have never had a chance to talk to one. They all die as soon as they get close to me. And it seems crazy that she wants to see one, but I get it. Like, she wants to be investigative and figure out things on her own. And when she goes down there, she finds out from that one lady, the one kind of crazy one, that the queen will save us all. Right? Like, that's the first time we hear it.
I think
right?
so.
I think that's the first one, yeah. But this lady seems like she's like kind of alert a little bit, but then Shara questions, like, I think she's being drugged. Like, she doesn't seem like herself. She's kind of coming in and out of it. Like, someone can control her. Not necessarily like like a mod controlling, but like with, what they're doing, the poison on their powers. But she repeats the exact same propaganda that we've seen all around the Capitol. and that the hunter is the one that branded her with the crown. She has this new brand on her body that's a crown, and it's all about the future. And Shara's thinking like, did my dad do that? Because he's the one known as the hunter. And we get this scene between Shara, Kith, and her father that just doesn't really seem important initially, but it has lots of breadcrumbs. It's just like breadcrumb city. Her dad is talking all about preserving the palace and then looks at Kith after Shara says the names of the first king. So it's like, okay, you're preserving the palace. Weird eye contact, like, I know, I know. And you're like, what do they know? And then Kith shares that he's known about Quentin for a long time, which makes sense because he ends up being his heir. So you're like, you're the heir and you know about Quentin. Are you now the heir that everybody's talking about? Like the heir will ruin us all? Breadcrumb. And Thorn continues to become super distant. He mentions that his visions are very vague and says that things that would happen if they couldn't be together. And again, you're like, what do you mean? Don't talk about us not being together. We're tethered mates. Like, stop it. And she tells him, oh, I bought this dress today. Or not, I got this dress. Do you want to see it? And when she pulls it out and he sees it's the gold dress from the vision of the pairing day, he gets really pissed off and like super distant. And basically just like, I never want to see that again because it's reminded me of a future where I'm not here. And she, is just like, I didn't think of it that way. I just thought of like, it's my first nice thing for me to have. Like, but the symbolism behind it, you understand, you feel bad. Like the connotation of it is negative for him. But, that doesn't really change them too much because then they get turned on again and have sex. Yes. But they have sex like very crazy in terms of like, is the world about to end? Like, is this the last time they're ever going to get to do it? Like, but that's also probably like the best sex that they've had.
Right.
You're like, okay, it's the end
Well,
of the
and I feel
world. So let's do it like it is.
because I think at this point, right, Thorn knows what the future is going to hold. So I think he's like trying to hold on to it, but he can't tell her.
Yeah.
Yeah, it probably is really hot.
That's gotta
But
be good.
then we get to like the scene that really makes me question Thorn's loyalty to Shara, which is Kith and Shara are at a pub and Shara sees Thorn with Ravenna and they appear to be holding hands.
I
Strike
was
one.
so mad. I want to
Yes.
throw the book at that point. I was just like, are you kidding me, Thorn? Are you? Hmm.
Like, what is wrong with you? And then she overhears them talking about how they don't want to hurt Shara and how it's going to destroy her. And I'm like,
I'm destroyed.
motherfuckers. I'm
I'm
like,
destroyed.
I'm angry. Like, I'm at this point, I'm angry. I'm angry at Thorn. I'm angry at Ravenna. I'm like, poor freaking, like, Kith is the only one we can trust. Her dad's not trustworthy. I mean, all of this we learn later is not true, but
Yeah.
then of course, like, the drone bombing happens and chaos ensues. And
Yeah.
Thorn afterwards,
Which is
like,
such an
sees,
epic moment right there where she's like
yes,
trying to hear like what the next words are that Thorn is going to say. And then boom, there's a bomb. And you're just like, and he like looks over and you're just like, oh shit. Like literally shit just hit the fan and then like fell on top of everyone.
yes. Like a bomb figuratively and literally happens in that moment.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
so good. And like Thorn's like, Shara, like it's not what you think, right? But Shara, sure, that's what
Sure, it's
like
not.
every jilted girlfriend thinks. Sure, it's not what I think. You were just like consoling another woman.
Mhm.
About how you don't want to hurt me and it's going to
Yeah,
destroy me. Sure,
she's like, do what you want to do. Just
you can
you're
have,
like,
and then she's like, you can have him, Ravenna. And she, like there's a comment like you would give him up so easily. And, basically they all need to help in this aftermath and they agree to talk later. So when Thorn does come back later that night, he admits he's being an ass. I'm like, okay, so thank you
good.
for acknowledging that you have been extremely difficult and not the best version of yourselves, which is about time. But then he tells her he can't explain everything to her, but he loves her. And like he needs her to fight. And I'm just like, that sounds like more lies, Thorn. I can't tell you what's going on, but I love you. Sure.
His
And then
name his name really comes into play here. Like a
it
thorn is
does.
gonna stab you and like hurt you, but it also is attached to like a beautiful, like loving rose.
Rose. Yes. And then he makes these comments, you're going to need strength for what's coming. It's in you. It always has been. Please don't give up no matter what happens. Promise me you'll fight. And I'm just like, fight for them, fight against like what, who, why would I be alone? Why would I give up? It's really it's hard to like Thorne in that moment, given everything that we know. But then it gets real weird because turns out
And
Prince
then he
Talon's
also, remember, at that point, he also says, like, whatever happens, like, you have to say yes. Like, you
yeah,
have to say yes moving forward. It's like, what's going to happen?
we don't know. But then, bad boy or not, Prince Talon is a prisoner because, his other brother gave him up for peaceful transition, even
Because
though
Elliot's a
Talon
dick.
came, he's a dick, right?
Yeah.
But, Talon came willingly. And one of the things that Shara's father mentions is that she might need to figure out a way to end Elian, which is like more foreshadowing, right? Which at first she was just like, why would I do that? But
Yeah.
we get this interaction like in the cell between Talon and Shara, and I love it because Kith has taken Talon's powers, which he is like gleeful about. And I think this might be the first time you see him like truly happy in this series because he's not like filled with pain and all of these
Yeah.
hurtful memories of like losing his tethered mate, what his father did to him, what his mother did to him. And he asked Shara for forgiveness for how he treated her because which like tells me that he really was like a decent person this entire time when he wasn't being manipulated by his father.
Yeah.
And then he also tells Shara, which also did not see this coming, to go meet with the Lady of the Starless and ask her to tell Shara the truth. And I'm just like, wait a second. How do you know about the Lady of the Starless?
Right?
How, like, why would you suggest that I like Shara go meet with her? And you're being nice? Like, I know nothing about anyone and who can be trusted in this book at this point.
Yeah. But I am glad here that Talon gets like a redemption arc.
I do
Because like
too.
you could like in book one, we hated him. Hated him.
Yes.
Book two, we understand him. And then book three, we forgive him.
Yes,
Sort
definitely
of.
so.
I'm like, you still shouldn't have been a dick and like tried to like sexually assault people. Like, like let's not do that. But I am glad that you have had like a self-awareness and awakening for yourself and your pain is taken away like permanently. Like you don't have
Yes.
to feel afraid to hurt other people now. And because now that you don't hurt other people, you can heal yourself.
Which I want for
So,
him.
which you want for him. So I like that redemption arc for him. I think that is a solid, point for him. And so thank you, K.A. Riley, for showing that not everybody is a dick
Forever.
forever. There's hope. Some people there's no hope, but for some people there could be some. But the timing here is also perfect with him telling her to go to the Lady of the Starless. Because Joy tells Shara that her mother wants to see her. And we also know that her mother is a seer, so we're like, the seer wants to see you. And when we go to meet her, her mom is the Lady of the Starless. It is not Lady Greystone. I was floored. I did not see that one coming. I was just like, okay, like your mom's a seer. She's gonna like show you the future and like help you out here. Not that she is the lady. Like she's the one. And we're assuming also that like Shara's dad at this point, like he knew the whole time because the two of them ended up being in cahoots with each other. So it's like they're not actually enemies, they are working together. I just don't know what to believe at that point either. I'm just like,
Yeah.
trust no one,
Well,
trust nothing.
because at first, like, it's interesting, right? Like when Joy takes her to go see the Lady of the Starless, because you're like, Joy is kind of like the spy that is working in the Citadel. But then at the end, when you learn that like the Lady and the Shadow are like romantically together, it's like, oh, like, no, like that was probably very intentional. Like all of this is very intentional.
Yes, like the lady is the one that her dad left her mother for. Like they tried to make it work and it just didn't work out. And he's like, I'm Lady in Red, like Lady in Starless, whatever it is. A little fun little thing there. And you're just like, oh my gosh, all of these things are starting to come together. And Joy also tells Shara that the lady wants to tell her about the future and to prepare her for a fate that she is not going to like. And I also feel like I'm not going to like it because I feel like this means Thorn and her are not together. But we find out here the Starless are not actually the bad guys that we've been led to believe this entire time. And Lady tells Shara very few important lines here. I take no delight in saying this to you, Shara, but it is inevitable at this point. You will feel betrayed and crushed under the weight of grief. You have already had a taste of it, but there will be so much more, and it will be terrible. Uh,
So, and then when I read this, I'm like, so he is a cheating bastard. Like
right.
that is immediately what I thought. I was already
Uh-huh.
betrayed by him, and it's going to get worse.
It's
Oh,
gonna get worse. Now I'm like, okay, I'm anti-Thorn now, and I hated that.
yes.
And then she says, someone has made a choice on your behalf, Shara, and I want you to know it was done out of love because it will not feel like an act of kindness. So then you're like, okay, so Thorn says all this time, like, I love you, I love you, I love you. But it's like, I'm going to doubt everything.
Yes.
And then she also says, one that will ultimately save this realm, but first will come a sacrifice. So she has to sacrifice something. She's going to save the world. Again, that's her prophecy. When the time comes for you to make a choice of your own, I am pleading with you now. Say yes. Even if it hurts your heart, say yes. Give yourself over to the feeling of calm that comes with that word. It is the only course of action that will liberate this land. Those are heavy words that she now is, freaking out about Thorn and like, does he love me? Does he not love me? Who else could this be about? Um, is he, going to betray me? Like my heart is going to break. Going back to what Ravenna was saying earlier of like, she's going to be heartbroken. Clearly, Shara is in for some deep shit coming up here. And I feel like when you're told that shit's gonna hit the fan, you're kind of like, I don't want to go. No, I'm
Oh,
gonna go
thank
this
you.
way instead. Like, no, I'm gonna opt out of that one. But it's her fate. It's her prophecy. She has to do it. And the only thing we know that she can control is just to say yes. But she's
To
freaking out
something.
to something. We don't know what. And you're like, okay. But she was right to freak out about everything because when she goes to try and find Thorn, she finds out he's been arrested. And apparently he's the guy that bombed the pub with the drone and everything. And even though we don't think that Thorn actually did that, maybe because at this point, I don't know, everything changes. And he confesses to it. He says, yeah, I did it. Did you? What? Did you? Are you behind this? Like, are you literally backstabbing us this whole time? She sees him to try and get this out of him to be like, you didn't actually do it. And he says he confessed to it because he had his reasons. And he tells her again, like, how much he loves her and like, you need to follow the path before you and you need to say yes. Okay. And that she will know what to do when the time comes. And then he says the same line that we've heard from other people, the queen will save us all. So Thorn is in this conspiracy. He's like in the conspiracy of like everything. And she's also like, who is the queen? Am I the queen? Who's the queen? Why are you in on this? Why do you say this phrase? You know?
How long has he been in on this? Like, because then at this point, I'm wondering, like, has this been since the very beginning?
Yeah.
Has
Like,
everything that's happened with them to get her to this point?
did he fake the tetheredness to like make her trust
Yes,
him to get her here? Like, is any of this real?
that's
Oh,
what I thought. And then we come to the part where Kay Riley destroys our souls. Um, did not see this
I'm so
coming.
mad.
So I was like devastated. So we have the public hanging, and Kith has supposedly talked to the Magistrar to make sure like Thorn's not involved. Because, there's a point when Shar goes, you don't think they would include Thorn? And he was like, no, but I'll make sure. And then you saw, so, she goes there, and it's kind of like what I envisioned. It's like a ton of people in this open space. And Ravenna finds Shar at the hanging and tells her that Thorn was protecting her. He's always protecting her. And I'm like, okay, that's
Yeah.
really weird. Like, what?
So
I
cryptic.
don't,
Yeah.
so cryptic. I don't know if
Yeah.
how I should feel about Ravenna at this point. And Ravenna says, like, we have to move closer to the gallows so she can see the eyes of the people before they die. Which I'm like,
Oh,
that's super morbid. But I'm also like, she's a reaper, so maybe she likes it. I don't know, right? Like,
I
it's
mean,
just
yeah.
when I first read it, I was like, that's weird. And Char
She
like
gets
doesn't
off on it,
question it.
maybe.
That's right. Like, I'm just like, I mean, she's kind of weird. Who knows? Um, which it makes sense later. And then like
Makes sense.
you see people get hung and die, and then like they come up and do like they're gonna do Talon, but then they don't end up doing that, and like he's being saved or whatever. And then like this last prisoner comes up, and Shar recognizes that it's Thorn. And I started hysterically sobbing, like so much so that I was on the second floor of my house. My kids were on the main floor, and it's like late at night, and they were like, they thought someone had literally died. Like they're texting my husband because we were in bed reading, if mom is okay, like what is going on? Does something horrible happen? And he's like, it's her book.
Yeah,
So
yeah. And Josh is like,
I
don't worry, guys, it's the book. You're fine.
like it's the book. I'm used to this. She likes to read books that destroy her
Yeah.
because it's just like I didn't see it coming. Like
No.
I didn't see it coming. I didn't see that they would do it this way. I thought it'd be more of a betrayal of like romance.
Yeah.
I didn't think she would kill him. We don't kill the main male character. We don't do
No.
that.
I'm like, is this Game of Thrones? Are you gonna kill the people we love? Stop
I don't
it.
like that. Stop it.
Stop it right now. I was so
And then
mad.
you
I literally, oh yeah, I texted you and I was like, I'm about to throw this book across the room. I'm so pissed. But of course I would never do that to K.A. Riley. But I was very upset in the moment.
very much so because we didn't see it coming. And then you have like Shara, who is super devastated, right? And she learns from Ravenna that Ravenna knew this entire time that this day would come, but she couldn't tell her because the alternative would have been worse. And we also learn that Ravenna lost her tethered mate. So she knows like the pain that Shara is experiencing. So now we've seen two people that have lost their tether mates, right? We know that Talon has and Ravenna. And then she gives Shara a letter from Thorn. Cue more sobbing,
Like by
right?
the time you read this, you know I'm dead. And you're like,
Right? And he's known
please
for
don't
a
be real.
while. And I'm just
Yeah.
like, you knew you were gonna die for a while. You didn't tell me. You didn't like run away with me. And then he
Yeah.
shares how him and Ravenna have been connected via visions of each other, right? She saw him
Hmm.
dying, he saw the, like different things. And so then it's like, oh my God, he wasn't a bad guy. There wasn't
Yeah.
some they weren't sleeping together. And then
If
turns out he's
anything, it's like if anything, Ravenna doesn't even like men. Well, maybe she
right.
likes
We
a little
didn't.
bit of both, but like, yeah,
She's not
her
into
mate
him
was a
that way.
woman. Yeah, so
Yes.
it's like, oh, okay, I can trust you. You're not going to try and steal my love,
But that was all things that would have been nice to have known earlier. And then
right?
we learned that Thorn met with the lady and he was told he had to make a choice and he chose Shara's life. And that she needs to say yes when the time comes. And then he left her something to use wisely, which is this bracelet, which comes into play later. And then we have like dear old dad come to see her and she's not pleased with him because like you're like the number two. Why didn't you stop this? Like you know how much I love Thorn. Why would you allow this to happen?
Why would you allow
Um,
me to go through this trauma and this
yes.
pain? Like, that's not a loving father thing to do. Like,
No.
she doesn't know much about fatherly love, but she's like, you shouldn't have wanted me to be
No.
miserable. But you
But
did.
he did. And then Kith comes and he comes to see her and he offers to help take her pain away, which whenever she needs him. So he comes like every single day and helps steal a little bit of her sadness. So using similar to what we saw with Valera and Talon, right? That's when I realized he was doing more of that. And like they have this interaction where like he talks about she'll ask him like, does it hurt you when you come and do that for me? And he says, yeah, like sometimes I go back to my room and cry at night. Like, and it's just I'm like, maybe Kith really is the person she's supposed to be with. Thorn wasn't the bad guy. Maybe you can have two tethered mates.
Yeah, maybe you can. Like,
I don't
and
know.
I don't know. Like, and you kind of think about that, like, in your life too, of like, you think that the person that you find to be the one is your soulmate, and sometimes they are, and sometimes you find out later you might have another one. Like what happens when like your love does pass away and you try to move forward with life and you find another love? It's like, has that other love always been there, and like just like the timeline wasn't right, and like, like, so like in that sense, like maybe Kith is another tethered, but it's just like a post current tether.
Heather? Yeah.
you know?
And maybe that's how the multiple tethers work. I don't know.
I don't know. But 2 months go by here. And Kith tells Shara that he wants to seek the leadership of Karan. Like he's like, I'm gonna throw my hat into the election because the Magister is actually sick and he's too weak to run. So I want to put myself forward, but I need a wife. I'll have better odds of getting elected and getting chosen if it's not just like a single bachelor dude, single fuckboy, but a married guy, family man, of course. Because who doesn't love a family man, right?
Sounds like politics today.
Sounds like politics today, yes. And Shara starts to realize maybe this is a choice that everybody told me about that I need to say yes to. But she still isn't over Thorn and can't imagine marrying anybody other than him. And she just kind of asks for some time to consider it. Like she's not saying no, but she's not saying yes. She's like, let me think about this. Like it's been 2 months, but it's only been 2 months. Like, come on. And so she goes to see her dad to talk to him about it, but he already knows. He already knows about the proposal, is totally on board with it, giving how well Kith has been to her and like how he's been there for her. He's like done the dirty work of like trying to open up her heart. But he does drop again a few breadcrumbs here about how if she accepts him, that he will tell her the entire truth later. He's like, you need to do this, and I will tell you everything you want to know. And how like she was meant to be with Thorn and fortunate to have that time with him, and that, you know, she does, and that like perhaps she'll find love later if she says yes. It's like daddy knows what's going on. But again, I'm like, are you just saying that because you want to get your way? Yeah. But also like we know that like he actually does have her best interest here. Later
We
we find
didn't
out.
realize
Like
it then. At
we
that
didn't
point,
realize
I'm
it.
just like, you want her to marry Kith. And like, and you're like on board with that. And you also haven't been around for the last 2 months. Like you came to see her right after it happened and then you stayed away.
Yeah, like dude,
Like,
come on. That's rude.
get your shit
So then
together.
right, yeah. So at this point, like Shara's like can't trust anyone. So she's like, I'm gonna go ask Talon because I kind of feel like I can trust him because
Isn't that interesting? Like, point. The person we trust now is Talon. Like, how
right?
crazy does that sound?
It's like I trust the man that was psycho and I pretend to be engaged to. Which is kind of funny because it's like, okay, I'm gonna maybe get engaged to someone else. Let me go ask my ex fake
My
fiance.
fake fiance.
Yeah, it's so funny. That'd be a fun like show. Fake fiance. I feel like that's probably a rom com somewhere.
It should be.
Um, yeah. Because well, so she goes to talk to Talon mainly because he knows what it feels like to lose a tethered mate. Um, because she still feels like that she can feel Thorn, and like when she tries to go into like the Nether, she's like, there's still like a presence, like a shadow, like there's something there, like he's faded, but like still present, like hasn't completely disappeared. And Talon is just like, well, I don't know, maybe like it's kind of different from person to person. So then she tells him about Kith's proposal, and Talon's like, yeah, you should probably accept that. And his reasons is that the pairing ceremony would grant Shara the legal rights of whoever she marries, and that if anything were ever to happen to Kith, then Shara would take over whatever that role is. So in my brain, I'm like, oh, so she's like the first runner up. Like when Kith gets crowned, if for any reason the title holder cannot live up to their expectations, the first runner up will take her place. So it's kind of like, all right, but it
Okay.
makes sense because combined with her dad, like her marrying Kith would be a really big team because it's like they got the two of them together, married. Daddy is going to be their right hand man in that sense, which is like it'll flip. So like before, like Kith was the right hand man to her dad, and now it's like we're gonna switch places here. Um, but he was just like, you know what, Shara, you need to do this because you're gonna save us all. And it's like,
No
again,
pressure.
she's the savior. No pressure whatsoever. Just make this decision, save everybody.
Marry
You
someone you
got
don't
this.
love. It'll be fine.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, it was interesting because when I first read the part where he says, like, with combined with your father, you'd make a formidable team, and the part about like if Kith died, I'm like, is this her father's plot to take over? Like
Yeah.
that's what I started wondering. And I was like, and I like one right now feel bad for Kith. I'm like, he loves her. He's been trying to help her. And now like is her dad plotting for all of this to happen so Kith can run, win, and then take over, and then Shara can lead with her dad, given some of the comments
Yeah.
her dad made.
Yeah. So it's like he's just the puppet master, you know?
That's what it felt like. So then we have Joy stop by to see Shara, and she brings a gift from the lady, and it's a dagger that will extract powers from another, but it'll only work for Shara, and it'll kind of keep the power in the dagger. Which you're
I kept
like,
going
why?
back to the front, or just like she has the dagger right behind
Oh, I
her.
didn't even see that. Oh, that's a good point. I didn't even notice that
Oh yeah. That's the first thing I said. I'm like, oh, she's hiding a dagger in the gold dress.
in the
The
gold
gold
dress.
dress for her pairing day. She's got this. She's got a crown on, but it's like broken. Anyway,
All the
I always
details,
go back to I'm like, oh, you got me good.
right? So then Shara goes to see Kith and she accepts his proposal, which he's like really excited about. And she's like, be patient with anything physical, which makes sense, right? Like that's hard for her in general because of like her previous life and like
Yeah, no
Thorn being the only
touching.
man she's
No touching allowed.
right. No touching allowed. And now like the thought of her being with someone else is really hard too. But he gives her a ring and puts one on himself and basically shares that like now it's kind of like they're committed to each other. So they have to be paired. That's kind of how I took it from this point. And when the pairing happens, it'll kind of bond the rings together and bind them. And then he shows her the rest of the vision. And she now sees herself saying I do, and she's saying I do to Kith. And that she feels incredibly happy on that day, which
Yeah.
is super confusing. But she's going to marry Kith. And,
Gonna marry
we're
Kith.
supposed to be happy about it.
Yeah. And you're like, okay, like I'm glad you're gonna have happiness again, but like, do we trust Kith? Seems like he's gonna be good in bed, but do we trust him outside of the bed? I don't know.
At this point, I still did.
You
At this
did, yeah.
point, I did. And I was just like, maybe he's the one that's going to heal her heart. Maybe this was meant to be.
Yeah.
I don't think he's the asshole that he turns out to be.
Yeah. Yeah. But then, major plot twist. Ravenna comes to see Shara and takes her to the dream house, which she's like, why would you show me this? Like, I'm so heartbroken. Like, what in the world? Like, Thorn and I were supposed to, like, live here and fix it up. And Ravenna is like, welcome home. And she's like, oh, fuck you, man. Like, this is a
That's what
cruel
I thought when I
joke.
read it. Like,
And I
fuck
was like,
you, Ravenna.
why are you
Like,
being a dick like this? Like, come on. She's like, just go upstairs. She's like, okay. And she like goes upstairs and looks on the bed, and there's Thorn on the bed. And I'm just like, is this a Snow White moment? Is True Love's kiss gonna bring him back? Because we already had like the Cinderella kind of thing going on here, where I'm like, is he Sleeping Beauty? Is he Snow White? I don't know. Oh, that would be good though, because Sleeping Beauty is a thorn. You got the rose,
that,
you prick.
oh, yeah.
Maybe that's a lot of stuff there for me. But again, if you're just like, oh my God, Thorn is not dead. I'm so glad he's not dead. He's barely alive and like barely hanging in there, but he's there. And Shara is like so overwhelmed to see him and gets super pissed off at everybody, especially Ravenna for not telling her. But then Ravenna's like, hold up, like there's a reason why. We need to make his execution look real. You needed to truly be like devastated and believe he was dead. But she's like, I can save him, so it's okay. Like I didn't kill him. That's why I need to be
It,
close.
close so I can
Yeah,
look at him. What was
yeah.
interesting was so Princess Bride, you know how it's like he's mostly dead? Like that's
Only
what I thought of. And
mostly dead.
he's only mostly dead. And I was just like,
That's true. That's
that's
true.
exactly like how I thought of this scene.
Yeah. So you're kind of like, okay, there's hope. There's hope for everyone in the world right now. And then her dad comes into the room. So he clearly was a part of this whole entire plan, which is like mind blown. Like, so you're not the asshole bad guy we thought you were. Like, you're actually like in on it. And he's like, you need to marry Kith because it's going to give you the power needed to heal the land. Because like once you get married, if he like wins and everything, like he'll, and then you can take over. Don't worry, Thorn's still going to be there. And he's just like, you're going to have to do a couple of things first. You're going to have to borrow Elian's power because like Ravenna can't really bring Thorn back all the way because like there's still like some like mind stuff going on. And so the only person that we know that has mind control is Elian. And he's alive. But we don't really love Elian and we can't just like run in there and be like, hey, can I borrow your power really quick? Not gonna happen. But if you look at the bracelet that Thorn left her, it has the fast moving thing. The which one is it? The arrow? I forget what it's
Yeah.
called. I
And
think it's
there's
the
shape
arrow.
shifting and
Yeah, shapeshifting is the wolf. There's like the arrow, and then there's one more. So she needs to borrow Elian's power to be able to wake him. And we're just like, oh my gosh, all these things together. Thorn knew this was going to happen, and this was their plan. And you're just kind of like trying to play catch up at this point, where you're like, everything I thought I knew, trash it, clear it, empty file, because it's not true. Everything is twisted. Nothing is real. So Shara is like, okay, I'm glad he's alive. Let's bring him back to life. She uses this bracelet then to morph herself into Ravenna and to, like, hide herself. And also because, like, Ravenna's a hot chick and, like, Elian is a selfish, fuckboy as well. And he's just going to see something hot and question nothing. So she uses that to change into Ravenna. Elian's easily distracted. She uses the dagger that she got from the lady, again, this dagger in the back, to then kill Elian. Just full on, just like stab at him. And I'm like, good for you. He does not deserve to live. He's a bad person. You can feel okay about murdering this one.
Yes.
She steals his power. He's dead. And then she... Dead. He's gone. We know where that dead body is buried. He's gone. Shara then quickly goes back to Thorn, uses that power she got from Elian to wake him, slowly bring him back to her. True love's kiss. And it works. And Thorn wakes up and you're like, oh, I forgive you, K.A. Riley. I forgive you for putting me through this trauma, because it's such a roller coaster.
Yes.
And Thorn tells Shara that she needs to marry Kith. And you're like, what? Bitch, I just brought you back from life. Why are you telling me to marry somebody else? But then he shows her, like, everything that Mercutio's been up to. And Mercutio's basically a little spy. And he's just been, like, finding about all these terrible things that Kith has done, that he's actually the evil one. And it's his evil plot. And that we all need to, like, take him down, but also, like, free everyone in the world. And basically that means saying yes to marrying him and fixing the world.
Which is, like, your mind is blown, because at this point, like, I didn't think Kith was bad until this moment. And now I'm like, now he's the bad guy. Her dad is good. Yeah. Her dad's been in on this the entire time. Thorn's alive. Mercutio once again is going to save the day with, like, all this information. But then also, hi, the guy that's horrible and, like, wants to kill a lot of people and has killed a lot of people? We need you to marry him. Take one for the team.
Take one for the team.
It'll be fine.
She's always taking one for the team. She had to, like, be engaged to Talon to take one for the team.
She had to seduce him.
Yeah.
Like in book 1, like, all these things. She's... Poor girl.
And then take one for the team again to go kill Elian.
Now we gotta marry Kith.
And I gotta marry this. Yeah.
So it's pairing ceremony day. Shara's father comes to get her, and she learns from him, which is something really key, that only a monarch can abolish the monarchy, which is why they've never bothered trying to kill King Thomas and things before. And that's going to come into play later, right? And Shara couldn't know all the things about Thorn being alive, because when she accepted Kith's proposal, he needed to know that she was honest and truthful about that. And now she knows that she is going to be happy because Thorn is alive. So she goes to her pairing day ceremony. So this dream vision that she's been shown by Kith is coming true. We learn that Shara's father and the lady are together romantically, have been working together this entire time. Did not see that coming. Was also like, excuse me, what? Kith tells Shara that he's Quentin's only living heir, and he's going to become king with Shara as his queen once they're married. So... Oh, I'm also like, right?
It will ruin us all.
Which makes more sense now, but didn't see it being him. And then they pledge themselves to each other, and her father's the one doing the ceremony, and they're crowned king and queen. And then there's this moment where Kith moves in to kiss Shara, because she says, don't kiss me until after the ceremony, right? And the reason she said that was because she didn't want him to feel her emotions. But when he kisses her, he sees, like, you're happy and you're rageful and you're blissful and you're angry, and clearly this is not what he thought.
Yeah, he would find out the truth. Like, if he touched her, he'd be like, Thorn's alive, and, like, you've been playing me.
Well, he finds it after he kisses her. And then she uses Mercutio, because once again, the mouse will save us all, to show everyone the truth, which I love, which pisses Kith off. And then we have Thorn come out, who's been posing as one of the guards, and he can freeze all the guards by taking control of their minds, which he does as well as Kiss. So this is the first time we've really seen him do true mind control. We've seen him a little bit in training do a couple of things, and he's talked about it, but I don't think I understood the power of it until that moment.
Yeah,
And
because they
then,
made it seem like it was more like just like electronics, but it's like in your
yes,
body you have it. So hypothetically, you could.
and he does.
And he does.
Um, and then Kith attacks Shara, and then Thorin gets involved, and it's like the three of them are like fighting. But then the best part, which is Ravenna is basically goes apeshit crazy and sucks the life out of Kith and Shara's like, no, we'll imprison him. Like she wants justice, and Ravenna is, he has to die because unless he dies, he still rules, and like you can't abolish the monarchy, right? So that's what she has to do. So she kills him. So Ravenna becomes the king killer
Yeah. The final king
and
killer.
the final king killer, and long live the queen.
Long live the queen. Oh my God, I just got like goosebumps all over again. Just thinking about that whole scene where it was so much. And you're just kind of like, oh, what do I do? But we move on like a month later and we see that the tower is completely emptied of all the tethered and all the children are reunited with their parents, which are like, thank God for happy
Mhm.
endings. Like that's so much better.
Yes.
Tower is like demolished. It's gone. It's no longer an eyesore in the city. And all the tethered domestics and the guards are freed from the Isles. They can stay if they want to, but they are freed from their like necessary basically slavery, you know? And the nobles didn't really love that one. Some of the nobles turned out to be okay, you know, and they're just like Devra Verdun, like she was still a good person, and like Evangeline, her Shara's mother, decides to stay to help them, and it's like that's sweet because like she's getting like a second chance at like raising daughters, you know. So that's a happy ending for that tethered. Um, but the rest of the nobles are like they're screwed, they're fucked.
Yes.
Shara is queen still technically, but she says, I will, abdicate and abolish everything once the election is held. Like, I want to make sure that things are moving forward smoothly and that we got this figured out. So she's still queen. Go queen. And Shara and Thorn live in their dream house, which is so cute. Because she's like, I don't want to live in a palace. Like, I've done the palace life. I just want to have this beautiful home that I dreamed of. And she has access to all of Kit's royal fortune because how fortunate that she was married to him and now she gets everything.
For like two
And
minutes.
then, yeah, for 2 minutes. And then the lady, which her name is actually Lady Allegra, she is the interim leader for Cravan, which I love here that we have a queen and a female president. Like she gets elected into the presidency, which we find out later in the epilogue. But again, it's like women rule and we get shit done. Thank you, K.A. Riley. We need to follow your example. And here we also see that technically, even though Shara had pardoned Ravenna for killing Kith, Shara hasn't really been pardoned, and there still kind of needs to be like a little bit of a reprimand because she did murder Elian in cold blood, even though it was a good thing. They were kind of like, you know what, we're gonna work with you. You're gonna be exiled in a year, so you got a year to figure this out. But we want you to use this time to go and find your sister. And so they're like, oh yeah, she's alive. Like, let's go find out where she is. And Talon is freed because, he has his redemption arc. And we're like, okay, he's good. And Shara's like, I need you to do this for me. Like, give him a second chance. He's non-violent now. He's a good guy. And then in walks our old bestie Nev, which we're like, oh my God, where have you been, girlfriend? Like, so much has happened. And she is into Ravenna. And I'm like, you can move on. You can have another like love afterwards. And so you're happy for Ravenna and Nev, and you're just like, all is well. All is well in the world.
And then we get the epilogue. And it's about a year later, right? And we have Lady Allegra. She's the official elected leader. You see
Go
this
girl.
really, right? Love that. We need more women in power. We have Thorn and Shara visit the royal palace, which is now like a tourist destination, and they like come across Talon, who's just like, "Hey, what's up?" As he's visiting where he used to live, which has to be like such a surreal moment.
Yeah. He went from living in a palace to now working in a coffee shop.
Which I love for him.
which is great. I think he's happy. He's so happy with
I
that.
know. But then you have Shara and Thorn. They're going to set out to search for her sister. And I think what's interesting is they could have pardoned her. They didn't need to exile her. I think that might be part of a like a cover for her to go look for her sister because everyone else knows besides the little group, right? That of like Thorn, Shara, Ravenna, her father, and I assume the lady, that her sister's dead. So I
Yeah.
wonder if this is also like another way, like we're gonna exile you for 5 years because that's how long we think it'll take for you to find your sister, but there's more to it. That's,
Yeah. We have
I
to have a
theorize.
reason for you leaving. We can't tell
Yes,
everybody to go find your sister because again, like that's a secret.
exactly.
Yeah.
But let's
Hmm.
get to the good stuff. Okay. So, hot and steamy. We're gonna give this book a four pepper spice. Like it was chef's kiss. Like
Chef
perfection.
Kiss.
Um, it started out, right? We got chapter 9, we're in the Nether. I have never read a scene like that. Like dream sex. Love that. We need more of that, writers.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, not being awoken by another man though, we needed to continue. But I loved just like it just felt like it was very emotional and physical. So I just really loved how that kind of came together and very unexpected. Like I thought they would be able to talk to each other. I didn't think they'd be able to like quasi get it on. So I
Yeah.
was here for it.
Yeah, like even Shara asks like how are you so real right now? Like how can this be? And she like breathes against his skin. And he's like we're bound to one another. Distance does nothing to disturb that. And then she's like, "Well then take me. I'm yours." And you're like, "Oh my God, yes." Oh my gosh,
Please.
this is another good line where she where he says, "You've ruined me, you know. You've ransacked everything inside of me. I only exist through your gaze." And you're like, "Oh my God, yes." And oh my gosh, when he puts his hands to his lips and licks it, you're just like, I want to have dreams like this. I want
Right?
to have dreams like that. And if that's a dream, don't wake me up ever.
Right?
Let me live in
Mhm.
that forever on repeat. So good. But then we get to the real sex. No dreamy sex. It is just like happiness upon happiness, and we are feeling it. Chapter 18. Thank you so much. First time in the suite in the capital. Shower sex. Love a good shower sex scene. So good. But it is real nice where she's just like, more. I want more. But instead of kissing her, he just buries his tongue inside of her, and you're just like, oh shit, oh shit.
He's not playing around.
He's not playing around. He's like, I want you and I need you and I want more. But like literally all she says is like, I would die happy if we could just live like this for a little, this free, this bonded. I want to devour you. And he's just like, oh, you are greedy. You are greedy, always wanting my cock. I said it. I whispered it. Cock. Sorry, mom. But it's just like pushing you to yeah, I know my mom's probably like, oh my God, you said penis. Now I did. But it is so good. Oh my God, this sex scene. It just like you are just kind of like dying. And like she also takes a moment where she's like looking at him and she's like really like they're getting it on and he's looking down at like where they're joined. And it's like he's in like, oh my God. Anyway,
Super into it. It was
yeah, it's like he's and then she flips over to him and she says, "You get on your back." She's like, "The Nether robbed us. We never got to finish what we started. Now they did. Thank you
yes.
so much." Chapter 19. I mean, I won't go through all these, but you get that. Well, maybe I should. Basically, more sweet sex, sweet and in the sweet. So good. But I also really want to go to chapter 24, where it's their first outing at the demolished house. And again, even though I'm like, this isn't the most hygienic, it's still pretty sexy. Because he's just like, hold your shirt up for me. And he gets down on his knees, and a small cloud of dust explodes from beneath them. And she's like, I'm gonna obey. And he's just like, your body is always calling my name, always. And like, they start to, get it on in there. And she's like, careful, like the dragonflies, they might come in. I want you inside me before they catch us. Oh my God.
That's super hot. Like, do you know what I mean? Like that, it's just their carnal need for each other, like in that moment, is so intense.
Yeah, it's like I don't want to get caught by anyone. Like I don't want to get caught by well now it's like my kids. Like quickly before the kids wake up from their nap, like let's go. But like back in the day, it's like don't get caught by mom and dad. Ooh. So you're just like, oh boy. But he just like is going at it, going to town, going down on her, and you're like, this is hot. This is so like I'm
Yes.
forgetting about the tetanus shot I'm gonna need to take after this. Like it's fine. Um, but of course that gets interrupted by dead people, and you're like, oh, that's a buzzkill. So then you have chapter 27 where like it says they have sex, but we don't really get to read about it, so which is a little bit upsetting, but I understand it's really great. Chapter 30 is this kind of like almost Spider-Man-esque where he's like
Yes, that's what I
upside
thought
down
of.
in the rope. Yeah, so the rope in the training room with his magic, he can like pull it down and wrap himself up in it kind of and then like go back up and it's like, "Oh my God. I love this." And let me get to that part really quick. So we got our little Spidey man, but he's not he's just like you taste like a miracle. And she's like, I don't want anyone to interrupt us, but I'm also like really fucking turned on by everything. And oh my gosh. Wait, oh, where is the part?
Yeah, and he like locked the doors and stuff, so she
Yes.
won't have to worry about it.
And you're like, do whatever you want. Like, I love you. I fucking love you more than anything in the world. But eating you upside down is one of the greatest things I've ever gotten to experience.
Boom. Mic drop.
Oh my God. And she's just like, my legs want to give out from under me. My head is spinning and my chest is erupting in flame. And like, literally, this is like a 69, but like
While
vertical.
hanging upside down.
Yeah, I am here for it. Oh my God. And she's like, we must be look ridiculous right now. But, you know, we probably also look incredible.
But it was
I love
also
it.
really hot.
Oh my God, it was so fucking hot. Okay, Riley, how did you come up with that one? Were you just also just like in the idea of like a Spider-Man scene, but like further? Because I like it.
I did too.
There need I'm so for it. We need to figure out a rope situation here. Chapter 37, again, it says they have sex, but we don't get to see and read about the details. Chapter 38 says they have sex. We don't get to read about the details. My only complaint, I wanted those details. I think if I had gotten more details in like chapter 27, 37, and 38, I would have bumped this up to like a 5 spice.
I agree.
More sex scenes. But you know what? I'm so happy and grateful for the rope scene. I will take it.
Him too. I will not forget the rope scene.
I will not forget the rope scene. Love it.
So, theory time. We've got a lot. So, let's start with my favorite. Is Lady Greystone really dead? Shara assumes she's dead. We know 3 people died in the palace. We don't have it, but like there wasn't, when the official word came about who was dead, she was not mentioned. Am I being crazy? Maybe. But I feel like this woman is going to pop up in a future book trying to harm Shara, her sister, or her father. Like, I think it's very intentional that her father mentioned that Lady Greystone's the one that tried to bomb and kill her sister. We know, like, Shara is going to go look for her sister. Like, I just feel like this is going to somehow come back. And I also feel like
Lady,
Lady Greystone's the person that, like, could come back from the dead, even.
yeah, she's like a cockroach. You just can't get rid of her.
Yes.
You know, she's always gonna be back.
So then we have Lady Allegra. What does she know about Shara's sister? Because she clearly like knows something, and there has to be like she says like to go look in the mountains,
Yeah,
and like there's something to it. And her father has to know besides just wanting her to find her sister. I think there's something more he knows about this. So I feel like there's another prophecy coming that involves her sister that we know nothing about, but other people do. So that feels
yeah,
on brand.
very on brand.
And
Don't believe everything you think you know.
yes, which is kind of back to the point I talked about earlier around like Thorne and Charlotte being exiled for 5 years. That's a very specific amount of time. Why do they think it will take 5 years? Like, why do they have to be exiled? And I think it's because of something related to her sister and that there's more to it. But I have a lot of questions about that. And then this is like a theory slash hope, wish, desire, which is will Talon find love again? He's at a coffee
Yeah.
shop. Like, could a customer come in? Could he find a new love? Could we get a like? Can we see a glimpse in a future book of like Talon, the dad, and like becoming a better person and righting the wrongs of his family's past? So,
Yeah. I think also it's funny that he's in a coffee shop, and my mind also kind of went to Talon the latte boy, bring me
oh,
Java, bring me joy. But it's like joy. What if him and joy?
oh,
Ooh,
that would be really interesting.
that would be fun. Okay, so Talon, could there be love again? But what? I think there could because redemption arc.
Yes,
He
I'd be here
deserves a
for it.
happy ending. I'd be here for that. I could approve that as long as he doesn't sexually assault anyone anymore.
Yeah, we're done with that nonsense.
No more. Learn your lesson. No more. And then also it's like, where are we going to see Shara and Thorn finding her sister? Like, how long is this journey going to take? Is it really going to take 5 years? What kind of welcome is Shara going to get from her? Like, does her sister know that Shara exists? Does
Ooh,
she
that's a good point.
like what if she has no idea? Like, is there a blood test that they can do to be like, you are my sister, I am your sister? Do they look alike? Do they have the same powers? Like, because we know her sister's probably going to be a tethered as well. And so, like, in that 5 year time frame, is that when her sister's power has come to fruition? Maybe. And she like needs Shara to like guide her through it. I don't know. And then also it's like, why does Shara's father keep dropping hints about Shara being his heir throughout the entire book? Was that just to be like, you're the heir in terms of like you are going to be the queen, like that we thought the whole time, or like are like there's more to this, I feel like. And it could have been again just like the Kith thing that we were trying to figure out, but there could be more in the series. There's this whole
Yeah,
world even outside of Cravan that we don't know about.
right. And then no one really knows about that's alive, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
they've been cut off for so long. The other thing that I wondered too about her father is he says something about like how her sister like wouldn't want power either. So I just feel like he knows more. I want to trust him, but I also feel like he's manipulative and keeping things from us. So I'm
Yeah.
very guarded,
Yeah. As we should be.
as we should be. We've learned to
Mm-hmm.
trust no one from the series.
Yes.
But when we get to moments that made my heart race, I mean, like this whole book, I was kind of like nonstop. But I would tell you, like, the two big things for me were like all of the spice was so well done. It was true perfection. It so good. And then Thorn dying, my heart like felt like it exploded. Like when he died, when Shara agreed for him, when he came back to life, like I got alerts on my Apple Watch because my heart was racing because it's just I didn't see it coming, and then when I'm experiencing it, it's just we're 3 books in, we're so invested in these characters now. Shara has been literally through everything and has been destroyed so many times. It's like, what more can this poor girl have to deal with? And then we pretend kill Thorn.
He's actually, you know what? He's like a zombie. He dies and comes
Yes.
back to life.
It's just mostly
Um,
dead
mostly dead. Mostly dead.
and dead.
True love. Anyway, uh, and then we get to the part of like making my eyes roll. Perhaps room for improvement a little bit. I don't know. I, I honestly, I hated that feeling that Thorn was cheating on her with Ravenna throughout the entire book. Or like they hinted at like the distrust and that there was an attraction between them, when really like it wasn't an attraction. It was just that like they know each other's like futures and like prophecies and everything. But was that necessary to like make her distrust Thorn? Because the whole time, like he's trying to like get her to trust him and saying, you have to say yes, know that I love you. But it's like, couldn't he have just come up and been like, it's really not what you think? Like, we're friends. I
Yeah.
don't know. Maybe that wouldn't have even worked either. But I just didn't like the idea of more of like that mind fucking. Like she already had that happening with Devra earlier in like book 2. And it's like, did that need to happen again? Like,
Yeah.
I
No, I
understand
agree.
you're making us question everything, but I'm like, I'm already questioning so much. Do I need to question that commitment? That's a
Yes.
bummer.
I agree. Well, and I think it's also hard too, whenever there's those instances of like when you read a book and there's someone that cheats. I think if you've ever been cheated on in like a previous relationship, I think that also can bring up like some triggers for people too, right? And so I think like for me, like when I was way younger, way younger before I got married, right? Like I've had a boyfriend cheat on me before, and like that, like it made me like I felt those emotions so much bigger because like I knew exactly what she was going through, where it's like, am I being crazy? Is this really what's happening? So I didn't love that for her. But I also am like, you needed it for the plot. I get it. But
It was a
if
necessary evil, but I did not enjoy that part.
correct, I agree.
It's okay.
So
I'll
what's
forgive you,
next?
K.A. Riley. I forgive you.
Right. Because they now, well, I think they're going to be happily ever after. We don't know. This series isn't done.
We're not done. I don't know.
We don't know. Um, so in terms of what's next, if you've enjoyed this book and loved it as much as we have, you're going to want to read book 4, Bound. And don't worry, we're going to do a full episode on this book too. We also assume that you're going to love the 5th book, Chain, which comes out May 30th, and we are counting down the days until we get to read that as well.
Cannot wait. Happy reading,
Happy reading.
everybody. Enjoy.
Thanks for listening to Late Night Reads. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook at Late Night Reads Podcast. And check out latenightreads.com for even more information about all the books we're reading. If you loved today's episode, make sure to subscribe, rate, and review our podcast. And share the show with your fellow book lovers.